get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show.
At the heart of what I'm trying to do is just look at things and try and throw some light on what we could do better as an industry, and where there's examples of good practice and maybe things that we've seen that are less good. And I guess, can I call you a veteran of our industry? Just 20 something years give you that status? Are you a veteran?
I suppose so. I suppose so.
But as a person of color like me,
yeah.
but obviously not like me, what kind of things would you say you've seen in your career? And you've worked across the board. You've worked in integration. You've worked for manufacturers. You've done a bit of everything, right? So what would you say would be the good, bad and the ugly in our industry?
Wow. Just a small question then. Wow. Yeah, I'd say, well, there's probably a lack of diversity being one thing. But by the same token though, I've had a fantastic sort of 20, 25 years within AV. You know, I've met some fantastic people, and in fact some people that I'm very proud to call my friends, and I think that I've known for 20 years plus within that industry, and some that I'm sure I will know to the day I die. So the industry on the whole has been fantastic for me. I've enjoyed sort of every minute, every second of working with it, and the people that I've met, and proud to call my friends, like I say. But like I say, in terms of lack of diversity, I don't know whether it's unappealing for, let's say, people of colour or of different ethnicities to actually join or explore AV. And it's a shame because it's fantastic, you know, in terms of technology, the challenges that you face in order to make things work, making solutions, putting solutions together. It's a rewarding industry, you know. It's fantastic. It is a goldfish bowl. It is all about presenting itself, you know, whether that being heard or certainly being seen. The clue being in the title, AV. But certainly, I think if something, whether that be a program or I don't know what, I don't have the answers as to what could make it more appealing to attract people from different backgrounds and ethnicities into the industry, because it would make it more vibrant, it would make it more rich, make it more inclusive, you know. But I'm proud to say that I've worked for some fantastic companies, and well, I've never had a problem that I could pinpoint, shall I say. But I've seen maybe one or two people that have been treated badly. And yeah, and that's disappointing, because I think the industry's lost people that it would certainly have benefited from. Yeah.
That's a really interesting point you make, because similarly, the first time I joined the industry was 2006, so quite a long time ago. I did have a break in between where I went back into teaching, back into higher education.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that I've had any direct discrimination personally, but I've heard from other people and I've witnessed certain things, and I have to say that there's one incident that comes to mind that I'm not going to go into great detail with, but it was dealt with as well as it could be, but it was dealt with.
Yeah.
But you used the word disappointing there, which is really, you just triggered a thought there, because disappointment, for me, I hang a few things on disappointments. There are things that I wish I had spoken up about. So things that I'd seen, especially when I was younger. So not when, before I even entered the AV industry. So things that I'd seen in society or in my workplace that I wish I'd known how to, and had the courage to speak up against, or speak up for somebody, or give someone the backing, or even just say, hang on a minute, that isn't right. And I guess it comes with, does it come with age or experience, or I don't know. But that disappointment, I think, has grown into regret for me.
Yeah.
And the regret then has created this kind of action for me. And as part of doing this video cast and a few other things that I've done over the last couple of years, I've had a lot of people contacting me, often anonymously, not wanting to be identified, but who have shared stories, either things they've been through or things that they've witnessed and didn't know how to handle. And sometimes it's embarrassment, isn't it? Sometimes you see something. And I kind of think back to when I was younger, and, you know, say you saw somebody, maybe even with a disability, and you found it funny, or, you know, it's a bit like when you see somebody falling over and you find, you know, you would laugh about it, that on a very low level. On a more serious level, when you hear somebody cracking jokes, and they keep cracking jokes, and they keep, you know, or they'll use a certain word, or they'll use, or that it gets to a point where it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
But I do remember kind of being uncomfortable, but I clearly wasn't uncomfortable enough to speak up, because you don't want to take that responsibility on.
No.
And I think the other thing that I'm trying to do is help people feel comfortable that actually if something feels wrong, it's better to speak up and be wrong about it than to say nothing at all. And people hide behind that banter of you know, but it was only banter and they didn't mean it, or whatever. And it's just such a broad kind of cloak to throw over something that actually could be really hurtful to someone.
I think that's the key bit, isn't it? It's about being uncaring, inconsiderate, cruel, and then dismiss it with, oh, it's banter. You know, whether the perpetrator knows it or not, it's still the same thing. It's just bloody cruel. You know, and then to hide behind banter is cowardice. You know, and that's disappointing. That word disappointing, you know, that to me, the antithesis is you could do better. You should know better. That's what disappointing says to me. You know, if I say someone that's disappointing, I expect better of that person. And I know that of an age that they should know better. You know, here we are in 2021, 2022, shall I say?
You should say,
Absolutely. Yeah, I should say, I'd sort of catch up. You know, I'm sort of on a refund on the last 4 months. But yeah, we live in an age that we should know better. You know, I mean, I'm sort of going back to school. I mean, like 1977, I was a first year, so giving an idea to my age now. But back in 1977, sort of first year at a secondary school.
You're right now. I think you're older than me.
Yeah.
Only
I
just.
I am that guy. And even back then, I remember one incident where a teacher, you know, in a maths class, sat there and he said, right, okay, talk about probability, and then he went to eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then he used the N word in it. 1977. This is a teacher in a class of what, 31 children, of which 2 were white, and he thought it was acceptable. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch her by the toe. And when half the class got up after giving them a mouthful of verbal abuse, walked out and went to the headmaster's office and dragged the headmaster back to the office back to the classroom and called him out and said, say what you were saying to us before in front of the head teacher. And he repeated it, and he thought it was acceptable. He was from the north of England. He thought this was normal. He could do this. And that was only 1977. So.
And you know what? And I remember there being a story in the press only a handful of years ago about a geography teacher who was talking about the missionaries and the, you know, that saving the cannibals from Africa.
Yeah,
saving them from themselves, you know. And this was a geography teacher, and I'm talking 2000s. This was, you know, in the last 10 years. So there are wider issues, I think, with language. But I think, to be honest, when people, I do try to say to people, I'm not about cancel culture.
No,
I'm not about, it really, when people say, oh, but are we allowed to say that anymore? Or we can't say that anymore. You can't say anything anymore. You can't crack a joke anymore. You can't do. Yes, you bloody well can.
Absolutely.
Say what you want. But you know, when you say something, think of that as how, you know, think of what you're going to say.
How it's going to be received.
And how it's going to be received. And actually, is there a need for it or not? Yeah. And would you like to be spoken to in an equivalent, you know, put yourself in that person's position, I guess. Yeah. And I think that I'm actually having that conversation of, okay, let's do this. Let's have this conversation. Let's talk about the language. Let's talk about why you might want to call me a P. You know, I don't have an issue with that as a, you know, as a word. It doesn't actually, it doesn't mean that I become something else. I can only be who I am. I can't be anything else. So it doesn't identify me. But let's just unpack why you would want to give me that label. Yeah. No, that's fair. Let's understand it. And I think just even having that conversation would be enough to get the ball rolling and actually get people thinking, yeah, all right, maybe not. When I look at across the industry, I don't see enough examples maybe of diversity at higher levels either. And whether that's a time thing, do you think it's time? Do you think over time that will happen?
I think so. It's well overdue. It's well overdue. There, you know, just like boardrooms and not having the sort of female or senior female members of staff on a board, that company is sadly lacking something. And in a word, I'd call it balance. Just as it is with
That's a really good word.
Females, with people of different ethnic origin, it's balance, isn't it? You know, surely, you know, together we can achieve more, you know, regardless, you know, having different viewpoints, having different approaches to things, collectively, it must make a company, an organization stronger. You know, I
absolutely
can't,
right.
Yeah, I can't see a negative in it, you know.
I don't ever slow up, no, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.